Well, Michael, I want to thank you very much for joining me today on Real Feel Insights. Michael, right?
Right.
Okay. I have known you for a little while. I don't think I really know a lot about you, so I'm excited to kind of get to know you a little bit. Unfortunately, one of the topic that I would like to talk to you about today, and you can unfold the sequences of events that took place here, but your son, at the age of 10, he was playing basketball and fell and passed away, died from that injury. And how long has it been now, Michael?
6 years. It was 6 years, March 10th.
6 years.
6 years ago on March 10th.
On March 10th. Okay. All right. So I want to thank you. I've been a little bit, whenever I have a topic, especially when it entails a child, we're going to be discussing his death and things that took place afterwards. And it always makes my heart sad when we have a guest like this. But I think that we need to have some of these discussions so that, because they're honest and they're real, but they're very, very painful. So I've been very nervous about it. I don't want to hurt you, but I think you probably, this is your story, it's your life, it's your son. So I'm going to just maybe ask a little bit about you, Michael, first.
Okay.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a little small farm and ranch town in Texas, West Texas, just west of, up in the Panhandle. So the square portion up top, they always call it Oklahoma's backyard.
Okay.
Town was 15 city blocks, 850 people. I had 24 people in my graduating class. So it was small, farm and ranch community. So where I grew up.
So not necessarily a country kid, but rural?
Well, it was country.
It was country, okay.
We were Dry County. There was no fast food restaurants, just
Okay.
gas stations.
When you say a dry county, are we talking alcohol?
No alcohol.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dry county. So,
Okay.
it was country.
Okay.
There was nothing for 30 miles. Amarillo was the
Okay.
closest
Okay.
place. So it was, like I said, it was country. We were country folk.
Okay. All right. I think maybe us, like farmer. You weren't like when I think of Texas, I think of like big farmers in the vast farmland.
Yeah.
So not farmer, but not big city either, like Houston
No,
and
not
things.
even, there was no big city close to us. Like I
Okay.
said, it was the closest one was 30 miles away, and it was farmland too. So I did grow up not in town. We grew up. Where my dad worked, he worked on a farm, so we grew up outside of town. So the house we grew up was surrounded by fields. My closest neighbor was probably 1.5 miles away. So we took the bus to work. I'm the youngest of 6. So, by the time I was 6, my dad would get me up on the weekend, and we go move irrigation pipe. So imagine a 6-year-old out there picking up a 15-foot aluminum irrigation pipe and trying to carry it to the truck, and the wind blowing, and I'm spinning like a top, and he's asking what's taking so long. I'm like, I'm 6. The wind's blowing.
Dad, the pipe is heavier than what I am.
So I'd put it down and grab it by one end and drag it. And of course, that's not the right way because then you get dirt in there. So he's like, gotta go pick it up. So I learned from a young age that the value of hard work.
So you would consider yourself that you have a really good work ethic.
I do.
And that is contributed to your dad pulling you out onto the farm where he worked.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Just doing that, and I grew up around that, and was in FFA, and just grew up where cattle. It was a seed and cattle farm. Worked for a farmer a couple of times, then for a couple of years. Then worked for a seed grain elevator. Just did different things, and wound up working for my dad's employer's competition seed company. So.
Okay, when you got older then.
When I got older, my junior and senior year, I just all I did was stack 50-pound bags of seed on the pallet. So
Wow.
It wasn't too hard to do that.
Okay, 50-pound bags of seed. It wasn't too hard to do that. Okay.
No, 5 per layer, 10 layers high. So.
You never forget that.
No.
Okay, so youngest of 6. Did you have a good childhood? Was
I
it?
did.
Okay.
I did. It was, you know, it was the type of structure that, you know, when it was dinner time, you had to go. You had to be at the dinner table.
Okay.
If you were not the first one there or you were last, you
Okay.
were maybe getting some scraps.
Okay. All right.
Not, I mean, I'm exaggerating.
Sure. Yeah,
I
yeah,
won't
yeah.
make sure there was
Yeah,
food
yeah.
forever, but it was, you were usually getting the last of stuff like, oh, like, man, I got the bottom of the bean pot.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but you know, it was fun. I mean, we living out, you know, in this, I call it the sticks. Living out there, you know, you find ways to entertain yourself. You do stupid things. You know, like touch an electric fence because your dad said it's off, but it's not. You just find things to do, and my brothers, you know, didn't always include me in things, which, you know, I was, like I said, I was the youngest, so. But it was, you know, it was fun. I had a good childhood. Shortly, you know, for a while we moved to town. My mom and dad bought a place in town, so I moved to town, so I got a little more. I was able to ride a bike, you know, back in the day when, you know, you could ride a bike outside and not have to worry about the stuff we worry about our kids these days. You know, you just made sure your mother made sure, you know, home for dinner, make sure you're home before the lights go off, the street lights. So you just, and you didn't have cell phones. You just, in my town, everybody knew where everybody was. So if I was out riding around, my mom and dad knew it.
Okay.
They knew where I was.
Sure.
So it was just a whole different mindset time.
Sure.
Frame.
Yeah. What was the age difference between your oldest sibling and you? Did they come pretty quickly, or was it spread out?
I remember my 4 brothers. I have 4 brothers, 1 sister, and me. So they were all a year apart, and I couldn't tell you when they were born. I know there was a year between my youngest brother and my sister, so there was a year gap, and then there was a year gap between her and me. So I think my brother's probably, he's got to be in his early 60s.
Okay, so within a 10, 12-year, 6 children were born in 10 to that's fast.
Yeah.
That's one right after the next.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
All right. If I ask your older siblings, would they say that you were spoiled being the youngest, or you laugh? What?
Yeah, they would.
They would?
It was when I was the last one in the house after everybody left. I would have been a junior. I basically got everything I wanted. And I think my mom at the time was, you know, so many times you'd get in trouble and she'd go down the list and start like.
Oh, sure.
So when she gets to your name, like, I'm out the door. I'm like, before she gets to mine. Because she couldn't remember. She's like, oh, naming everybody's name. So when she got to me, I think she was, when I was the last one, she was probably like, I'm just done. Just do whatever you want. So
She was a little tired.
I would get, basically, yeah, I had a spoiled life my junior and senior year.
Okay.
I had to do pretty much whatever I want, considering that they didn't get to do anything, a lot that they wanted to do.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, they would say spoiled.
They would say that you were spoiled. Okay. All right. Well, in the dynamic of a family, a larger family like that, I too, Michael, I have 6 children, and they're all a year apart, so 6 children in 6 years. If I ask the couple of the older ones if the younger ones were spoiled, I think they would quickly say yes, but in different ways.
Yeah.
Like, I maybe perhaps had more time for the older children, but I maybe perhaps had more financial stability for the younger children. So there's give and take in big families. Yeah, and I think sometimes the older ones just want to rattle the younger ones, just even if it's not even true.
It is. I know my oldest brother took a lot of the punishment for some of the stuff, the stupid stuff that I would do.
Okay.
So-
Okay. All right.
They would step forward. I mean, you know, my dad would line everybody up like who ate this or who. It was like he would step forward, even though I ate it, but I wasn't stepping forward.
Sure.
He'd step forward and take the punishment.
Okay.
So-
All right.
It would,
You never forgot that. You're, at this age, you remember
I
some
still
of those
remember
things.
him.
Yeah.
Still remember him taking the punishment.
Yeah. So I have a lot of guests that sit in that very chair that you're sitting in, and it's so amazing to me how, when we're talking, that childhood really is a creator of who we are for the rest of our life, and it's so subtle that you don't even really know it until you have to reflect back on it. and I don't know if you ever did this, but you know, when you start having children, you're like, well, I'm not going to do that, you know, what my mom and dad did. Or that was really I really enjoyed that my mom and dad did that, you know. And then we turn back when we get to an older age, when our kids are adults, we look back and we're like, I set out to do a perfect job at parenting, and then we reflect on it, and it's like, I don't know,
Yeah.
I did okay.
I tried. You know, my wife and I, we tried to do the opposite of what my folks did, kind of the strict thing. So I think it's kind of backfired on us. I love my kids as they're older. You know, they're older, but I'm like you guys are spoiled.
Okay,
I'm like, but they're good kids.
Right.
They're good kids. They're young adults.
yeah,
You know, they're doing their thing,
right.
their own thing. So
Okay,
I
so
think we did a pretty good job.
yes, well, so you grew up more strict, you thought, so then you were going to be a little bit more relaxed with your children, and now you look back at it as they're young adults now, and you're like, I maybe shouldn't have been quite so lax on them.
Yeah. I think so. I think that's the message, or my thought process. Like maybe I was a little bit too lax
Sure,
and laid
yeah,
back.
yeah.
So
Well, we all, as we, you know, as we reflect back on parenting, like I said, I mean, we did okay.
Yeah.
There's things where we could have did improvements and stuff. So thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Do you have close relationship with all of those 5 siblings of yours?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I try to talk to them at least once a month. I know my oldest, my brother works for the Department of Defense. He's retired out of the Air Force, and he spends, I think, 60 days in. I think the last I talked to him, he was in Cuba.
Oh, okay.
And then he's 30 days in the States. My other brother lives in West Texas, a little bit further west. One brother lives down outside of Austin. My sister lives down in Austin, and my other brother lives in Arkansas.
Okay.
So
Okay. Michael, I have to ask you, you live and reside, you and your wife and family reside in central Minnesota, correct?
correct.
How did you venture from southern part of the United States to further in the Midwest?
So as I said, I grew up in Texas. In '92, I joined the Navy. Went out to California.
Okay.
So I was in San Diego from '92 to 2016 when
Okay.
we moved out here. That's where I met Shannon. That's part of the stuff with my kids, like the lax. Like when you grow up in San Diego, kids grow up in San Diego, you have a lot of things you can do.
Okay,
A lot
sure.
of, so
Entertainment and
it
food.
was one of those things where I think the lax part of thing, like let's go do this. You live in San Diego. It's a beautiful city. It's warm. You go to the beach or whatever. And then in 2016, my wife's mom and dad, they sold their business and their house in San Diego and moved out. Father-in-law had gotten sick with dementia and Alzheimer's. So they were out here, and I think they moved out here in 2009.
Okay, so this is your wife Shannon's
Yep.
parents,
Yep.
and when you say moved out here, we're talking what?
From San Diego to this part
Central
of central
Minnesota. Okay.
They moved out. She moved into her childhood home
Oh, okay.
that her brother had.
Okay.
So she lived there. My sister-in-law and her husband moved out here probably 2 years after my in-laws moved out here.
Okay.
And then in 2016, the place we were renting in San Diego, the place had flooded from upstairs, and the guy we were renting from decided he wanted to sell it. So we're trying to figure out our next move.
Don't have a home.
Yeah, and I worked for the city of San Diego.
Okay.
So I had a really good government job, and she's like, hey, let's just move out to there. I'm like, whoa, hey, wait a minute. I'm like, I got a really good government job here, and we just kind of like picked the family up and moved out.
Wow.
Moved out to here, and it's hindsight's 2020. I think it was a good move for us.
Okay.
So,
Okay. All right.
Both the environment of raising kids in a small community. It's not San Diego, and then the financial part of it. It's
Okay.
way cheaper here than it is in
Okay.
California.
Okay. So your wife was originally from central Minnesota.
No, my mother-in-law was from central Minnesota.
Okay.
She grew up here, and she
Okay.
moved to San Diego.
Okay.
Met my father-in-law. So he's from San Diego. Shannon was born in San Diego along with her sister. Then my mother-in-law moved back out here to her hometown.
Oh, okay, now
And then we kind of followed, yeah.
now I'm following you.
Yeah.
Okay, when you said the childhood home, I thought that was Shannon, your wife's childhood home.
No,
That was your mother-in-law's. Okay, okay. So that's how you ended up, okay.
here.
Okay, so from Texas
To
to
California.
to central Minnesota then,
Yeah, I
okay.
joke with my wife, I'm like, I spent 19, 20 years in Texas, 20 plus years in California, 20 plus years probably out here.
Okay,
So.
all right. Wow.
Yeah.
So many people, they just stay right where they grew up and maybe they might make a move here and there and stuff. But I mean, really, literally, that's different cultures. Texas is a different culture. Is that with Southern boy?
Yes.
And then San Diego, that's all the way
California.
from California boy, yeah. Cali boy. And then central Minnesota, up in the,
Back to rural.
definitely rural
Yeah.
and cold and tundra.
It is, my first year here, where I worked at the hospital in town.
Okay.
And my first year, I work in computers, so I had to move some computers across the street. And I remember walking out and like going, what the heck am I doing here? I'm like, it's freezing. Blowing snow, I'm trying to push this cart with computers across the road.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, and my friends in San Diego are like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm not talking to you guys. I'm like, why? I'm like, because none of you, I don't know if you can curse on here. I'm like, I said, none of you sons of bitches talked me out of it. I'm like, I'm out here, it's like 20 below, it's cold. I'm like, you guys all suck. So, but it was, you adjust. But, the cold's the cold, you just do it.
Right.
Living out here, I mean, as you guys know, being, locals, or not locals, but growing up here, it's something you deal with, and
Right.
9 months out of the year.
Right, yeah. A body has to kind of acclimate. I was in Australia a couple of years ago, and for 3 weeks, I got off the airplane in central Minnesota, and it took my breath away because it was literally like 20 below. So I was in like, what is it called, Uluru, in Australia at 108, and then 5-6 days later I get off in central Minnesota and it's literally like 25 below. I coughed. It was such a difference. Yeah, unless you do some traveling, you don't understand that, for a length of time. So a body does acclimate to their surroundings, heat and cold, and so I give you some credit. Yeah, coming.
Try to acclimate. Yeah, it is definitely cold when you're officiating football games in the fall. Like in October, it gets cold.
Okay, all right. So you kind of touched a few things. You were in the military. That's what brought you out to San Diego,
Correct.
and that was the Navy.
Yes.
What did you do when you were?
I was a what they call a plane captain. So I was stationed at NAS Miramar, Top Gun. So I was super excited. I'm like, hey, the movie Top Gun. I'm stationed at that on base there. I was a plane captain at F-14 Tomcats, so the aircraft, the fighter aircraft, and then we were based on a seagoing carrier, the USS Kitty Hawk. So we'd go out for 6 months of deployment to the Middle East and stuff like that, do workups. So a plane captain basically just takes control of the jet, goes out and does the maintenance, like checks the oil and rivets and makes sure everything's, and then does a maintenance report and sends it back to the I guess your maintenance desk, and then they go, the airframer's going to go out, or the mechanic's going to go out, or somebody's going to go out and fix this and fix that. So
And okay, what was it that you said you were? What was your title?
I was a plane captain,
A plane captain,
brown shirt, we'd call ourselves.
brown shirt. Okay. And you would go out for 6 months on a carrier.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we were attached to seagoing, so we were land based. We were based at NAS Miramar, but we were attached to the USS Kitty Hawk. So
Kitty Hawk. Okay.
when they'd go out for, they'd make their Westpac, what we called a Westpac. They'd fly out to the ship. We would go to the ship first, get out of San Diego Bay, get out far enough, and then the jets and the aircraft would soon come out and land and get parked and stuff. So out there, my job was different than it was on land. So on land, when we'd start up the jets, we'd take them, we'd taxi them out to the runway, get them to the end of where all the aircrafts are lined up and just let them go and just wave them on. They taxi out to the runway and take off. On the ship, we would hold the aircraft, like we'd start it up, do all the maintenance, and hold it where it was at, whether the aft part of the ship, and then we would turn it over to what we call the blue shirts, which are the ship squadron or ship personnel, and they would move the aircraft around the flight deck, because there's a at one time probably 70 planes up on the flight deck, so they got to move them ever gently, like you got to go here. So that's usually what I did. So I was I always tell myself I was a bona fide valet person.
Okay, all right. 70 planes on the deck of this ship. So you really had to make sure you were maneuvering these planes properly. 70 jets.
Different kinds, F-14s, 18s,
Wow.
S-3 Vikings,
Okay.
helicopters.
Okay.
And there was, an aircraft carrier is basically a floating city. There's 5,000 people on board.
Okay.
So it's basically a floating, and you have everything you need, food. You have we call it a geek store, just go buy stuff.
Wow.
An ATM on board, which you find
Wow.
it hard to believe there's an ATM in a floating city.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But it was enjoyable. I mean, I got to see different parts of the world.
Okay. All right. 20 years you served.
Nope, I was in from 92 to 94.
Okay.
So I joined when they had the 2x6, which is you went in for the GI Bill.
Okay.
So 2 years active, 6 years non-active.
Okay, so you were, you were out in San Diego for 20 years. I got it now. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what brought you out there. And then you met your wife out there?
I did.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
How long have you and your wife been married?
Man, I didn't even ask that question. Let's see, 24 years.
Okay,
We got married in 2001, 2. Wait, I'm gonna declare it. Okay, yep, 2. We got married in 2002.
2002.
So 24
Okay.
years, yeah.
Okay, so just about celebrating that 25-year
Getting close,
mark.
yeah. Our 20th, we went to, we took a trip to the Dominican. So we went to the Dominican and we stayed outside of, I don't know if anybody's been there, but we flew into Punta Cana, and I spared no expense. I mean, most people, if you've traveled abroad, to some tropical place, usually when you get off the airport, everybody gets on this shuttle, and they go around and they drop everybody off at different resorts. I didn't want to do that on our 20th, so I booked a private. So we had a Cadillac Escalade, took us straight from the airport to the hotel, so we didn't have to stop. 'Cause
Okay.
We went to Mexico earlier, and when we were out here. We didn't do a lot of traveling back in San Diego. We did it here. But we went to Playa del Carmen.
Oh, sure.
And
Okay.
We flew, and it was our first time going. So we got on that shuttle that we're sitting on there waiting for people. Like, oh man, when are we gonna get dropped off? I'm like, they're dropping people off as they go down the line. So then I learned at that point, like, never again. I'll just book a car so I get away.
Well, yeah, if you're celebrating 20 years,
Yeah, so
celebrate.
We went. Yeah, we kind of went all out.
Good for you.
We stayed. I got they call it a butler. when we
Okay.
went to-
Ooh.
so you get to call them when you want to make a reservation, or
Right.
like I remember you use an app on your phone,
Okay.
and you tell them, hey, we're going to the beach tomorrow. Can you get us reserve us 2 lounge chairs right on the water? So they would go out.
Get it.
We have reserved the two
Wow.
the 2 front chairs right
Look
on the
at
water.
you. Royalty.
He'd sit there and text like, can I get a bucket of Corona
Wow.
with ice? And they'd
Okay.
bring out a bucket of Corona.
Okay. All
and
right.
sit down. So
Okay.
yeah, it was nice having a butler. So
Okay.
just
Wow.
kinda
Yeah.
took care of our stuff. So
I've been in situations, maybe not quite like that, but when you get everything serviced to you, and then you go back to your real life and have to cook your own meals and drive your own vehicles.
well, that was the thing when we flew back from there from Punta Cana back to here. We were like, we'll upgrade. We'll go to first class. So we just, they offered us first class, and so we upgraded, which is good because we checked bags. So one of the bags we had was really big. So when you get first class, your bags aren't, you don't have to pay for your bags.
Right.
So we booked it, so it's first class from there to Miami, and from Miami to Minneapolis, or to Minneapolis. And so when we flew from Minneapolis, or from Florida, from Miami to Minneapolis, which Miami was a whole different story as far as trying to get through that airport, because we had a 2-hour layover. I'm like, oh, perfect time. You have to get off go through customs, then go back, go back and check in, go back through customs.
2 hours is not enough time.
No. So when we got there, I'm like, we were running to the gate. I'm like,
Yeah.
Jesus, I want that. We had 2 hours. I'm like, we're barely going to make our flight.
Right.
So, but we flew first class, and I remember being shocked. The lady came out because we had the 2 front seats, just like offering us food. I'm like, wait, I don't have to ask. Would you like some nuts? I'm like, where is this? Why have I not flown first class before? I'm like, just free drinks, keep
Right.
filling.
Yeah.
The meals came out, and like, you had plates.
Right.
You had food
Food,
prepared. I'm like,
yeah, and it's good
dinner.
food.
I'm like, I'm not eating a packaged meal or whatever it is.
Yeah, the problem is you get the drinks, but then if you are getting, the final destination and you have to drive,
Yeah.
it's fun and enjoyable when you're on the plane, but then you get off the plane and then it's like, now I've got to drive, so you got to calculate all of that.
Yeah, we got in so late that we cut a shuttle and we booked a hotel. We stayed in Minneapolis and we drove back the next morning, so it was
Okay,
okay there.
okay, sure,
Kind of
yeah.
a few cocktails.
Yep. That's nice to kind of relax before you have to get thrown back into,
Yeah.
that night before, you get thrown back into the real, regular
Right, yeah.
life of
Back to-
working
yeah,
reality.
Back to reality. Like, okay, now we got to pay for that trip we just did.
Right, yeah. But, a person nobody's going to give us happiness. So you have to, if you can't afford a trip, just go take a picnic someplace or, do a stay vacation and just make your own happiness. As the older I get, it's like, well, I'm not looking for anybody's to give me happiness. We've got to make it and create it ourselves. So whatever makes us happy, that's what we've got to do.
Yeah, that's what Shannon and I talked. We want to plan it. We try to plan a trip, but somewhere exotic. But we're going to start. Like, there's so many things. I watch TikTok. I see these different places you can go here in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, like waterfalls and different places. So we're like, I told us, let's explore some of these places. You go see waterfalls. And, I've always wanted to go to Itasca and walk across the Mississippi. So
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
on the bucket list. So
Yeah.
we're just going to try to do that this summer and just pick a place and go for a weekend. Friday to Sunday. Let's
Right.
go somewhere, go see a waterfall or go do something local.
That's so important. Yeah, spend it with the people that you love.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your childhood and your siblings and, walking us through all of that. You said that you now work with computers. Did you get a degree somewhere along the line here in that? Or nope? Okay.
Just fell into it.
Fell into it.
Back in the day, when I got out of the military, computers weren't, back in the early 90s, computers weren't what they are now. Personal computers. Back then, the computer was plugged into a wall and it went somewhere. It was just a dummy terminal, what they call a Weiss terminal, just a dummy terminal. And I kind of just fell into it and worked for the city, kind of was in computers, and then went to the city of San Diego, worked for them, and I went into IT project management. So kind of went away from the computer part, like building computers and stuff like that. So
Okay.
I did that for 15 plus years. And then I came out here and I had to go back into it. So then I had a lot of catching up to do.
Okay.
But no, I didn't have a degree.
Okay.
I did a 1 year college
Okay.
in San Diego at Mesa College. But yeah, things just fell in. It was kind of aligned. So, and I love where I work now. They're very relaxed as far as they allow me my stuff that I do, like fishing. I'm an official for sports, high school sports.
Okay.
So if I need to leave early to go somewhere,
Okay.
maybe a 3:00 game somewhere, then I leave. They allow me to do
Okay.
that. So
Okay.
I just
Okay.
hey, you're just gonna get your 40 hours somehow. So then I just make it up somewhere else.
Okay. So you work at a hospital in the IT department.
Oh, I used to work at the hospital.
Okay.
And then obviously COVID hit.
Okay.
And I was one of the 900 that were laid off during COVID.
Okay.
So now I work for another company that makes shirts here in the area.
Okay.
So
A manufacturing company, but
Yep.
still in the IT department.
Yes.
Okay. And then you said you officiate games.
Softball and baseball. Yeah.
Okay. So
official. And then-
referee.
And then in the fall I do football.
Okay. So that job, the company that you work for now, is extremely lax in the sense of like they are very generous, let you go when you need to, and
Yeah, my boss
okay.
allows me to if I got to leave to go do a game somewhere, like at 3
Okay,
o'clock, like
okay.
say in Pillager, well, it's
Okay.
not a short drive.
Okay,
So, I usually had to leave, fairly early, like at 1 or something like that to go.
Okay,
So he's
okay.
like, hey, as long as you just get your hours in.
okay, okay,
So, and so a lot of the work that I can do from home.
okay, all right. Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to be probably moseying into your son Ridge.
Okay, absolutely. Anytime I can, I think when you talk to me, when you contact me, anytime I can talk about him and his message and who he was, I take every opportunity that I can, just because I think it's extremely important, given the environment we're in now, just who he was and
Okay.
what his,
Okay,
just what his whole demeanor and his message was.
okay, all right. So maybe let's do this. We got to know you as the father of Ridge, so thank you. How many children do you and your wife have?
I always say 3 when people ask me.
Okay.
Even though I have 2 that are, here, and
okay.
then I have Ridge.
Ridge,
Also.
okay.
So
You have
al-
3 children.
I always say 3.
Okay, you have 3 children.
I have 3 children.
But I have to put a personal touch on that. I always struggle with, my husband passed away now, it'll be 5 years, and I remember, am I married, am I not? It's like it's hard. And then like our grandkids, do I say our grandkids or do I say my grandkids? So it is something that if you have never gone through a loss, such as you and I have, that are close proximities to, to our life, that made my husband and I to say our, or to you to say I have 2 or 3 children. Michael, you have 3 children. One is earth side, 2 are earth side, and one is not. Would that be fair enough to
That'd
say?
be fair enough, yeah.
Okay, all right, yeah. So Ridge, is he the oldest, the youngest? Where does,
Youngest.
he's
He's
the
youngest.
youngest, okay. And then, so you have 2 older.
Yes.
You have, is it daughter
Daughter and son.
and a son, and then Ridge was the youngest?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Did you like being a parent? How was fatherhood for you when it first started?
It was definitely eye-opening.
Okay.
When Clara was born, it was
Claire's your oldest daughter?
yes.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay,
It was eye-opening. It's like everybody says, like nothing can prepare you for it. You just kind of like, there's no manual. They don't give you a manual. Like, oh, here's how you do this. You just kind of like, here you go. Here's your kid.
okay.
Good luck.
Good luck,
So
okay.
you figure it as you go along. And,
Okay.
you have family around, like her parents are around, so they kind of, helped out.
Your wife's parents?
My wife's
so-
parents,
okay,
yeah. So
okay.
you just kind of figure it out. You just go down, you figure out what works and what doesn't work, and then,
Were you a hands-on dad when your oldest child came? How old were you when she was born, your oldest child?
man, math is not my strong
That's
suit.
all right, take your time.
Let's see. I was in my late 20s, maybe,
Okay,
somewhere in there.
so right around
Yeah.
the 30 mark. So were you a hands-on father?
Yeah. I mean, yep. I would like to say yes.
Okay.
It's so long ago.
Okay, yeah,
I know that I did coach her in softball from t-ball on
Okay,
up. So
okay.
I tried to be involved in everything. I know she was in Girl Scouts, and Shannon took part in that. And, schooling, dropped her off at school, picked her up at school, went to the functions she had in school. So
you were hands-on.
I was,
You were hands-on, Michael, very much. I asked some of those questions because sometimes, as a mom, I remember I was maybe more like, I wanted children, but then it was like, well, what in the world? I am 100% responsible for this child. What did I do? Kind of. And then you talk to some people, maybe a little bit older, and they're like, I've been waiting for this for so long. I am so ready for this, and I'm so excited. And it's not one is right or wrong. It's just, it's a different kind of a concept. So when I ask, parents, sometimes I say, are you hands-on? You definitely were a hands-on. You were very invested.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm glad somebody confirmed that.
Yeah,
for me.
yeah, well, from what you've said. And then, so the oldest, and then how far in between your oldest and second child?
Let's see,
couple years?
4 years.
4 years,
He was
okay.
he was born in 06,
Okay, okay,
so he's 19. He'll be 20 next, or he'll be 20 tomorrow.
Okay, all right. And then Ridge.
And then Rich, he was born in 2010, so 4 years. So 4 years apart.
Okay. So Ridge was born on March 10th of 2010, and he passed away.
He passed away. They declared him on March 9th, and then he had we had the hero walk. So he donated on March 10th, his birthday. So March 9th, they declared there was no brain activity, and then we spent the whole night with him, and then the next morning at 5 a.m. is when the hero walk. So that was his 10th birthday. That would have been his golden birthday.
That even makes it just so much more difficult.
It does, and people can Google his name. He at the time, because it was an accident that happened, and he was donating his organs on his 10th birthday. So he was given the ultimate gift that 90% of the world's never going to do. I mean, I'm never going to do what he did. Maybe given my age and the state of my body, I may not be a lot of viable organs, but it made national news. I mean, we had people contacted. We had somebody from England call us to do an article. So if people Google his name, they'll find multiple stories from People Magazine, just around of his story. And
Ridge
yeah.
Scolley.
Yep.
And that's Scolley.
Yep.
Ridge Scolley.
Yep.
Michael, would you be able to give me a little bit of glimpse into Ridge's when he was 2, 3, 4 years old? What was he like?
He was very joyful and just fun-loving and eager and curious. He just wanted to know, and he wasn't a loud baby, but he wasn't quiet. Like, he wasn't a screamer. He just kind of he kind of just would absorb, like, just look at things, like, just try to figure it out. Just sit back and kind of ponder. And he was active. When he was born, I know he was born, and they rushed him away because his lips turned blue. So he had a seizure, I guess. So he was in the NICU for 14 days with a brain cap on.
Okay.
He had what they said, he had maybe a heart attack, I think is what it was, or a mild stroke.
During the birthing process.
Yeah. So he was in the NICU for 14 days with a brain cap. So they're monitoring just vitals and stuff like that.
Okay.
So it was difficult for us to be there because we couldn't touch him when they had the brain cap on. And so we had to wait 14 days, and then he was developmentally, he was behind speech-wise and walking, just because the brain took a little bit of a tumble, so to speak. So he did therapy, occupational speech, and motor therapy. He had 3 days a week. Somebody would come to the house and work with him on that. So, and he took medication to prevent seizures. I think that's the only thing he took. But by the time he was ready to go to kindergarten, he was where he needed to be. He'd met the milestone. So if people looked at him when kindergarten, if you didn't know his story at the beginning, he would just be a typical kindergartner. He went to school. He went to kindergarten. He had to go to some special classes still to try to get to where, because it was just, he took that, the way he was brought in, it took him more time to get things going. But still, he was active. He went to kindergarten out here. Yeah. So he was in kindergarten here. Shannon stayed at home with the kids. So she was a stay-at-home mom. She subbed sometime out in California. But he was just he loved life. Teachers would tell us stories after his passing of how he would draw. He'd tell stories or draw angels. He'd say he'd see angels. Just that he had that connection. I guess. he was just a very chilled, laid-back kid that was all-inclusive. That it didn't matter where you were young or old. If you were 4 or 80, he would try to talk to you, try to include you in things. And it's the love like Ridge kind of saying. He was all-inclusive. He didn't care.
Okay, your shirt.
Yeah.
Love
Like Ridge.
Love like Ridge.
Yeah.
So he loved.
Yeah.
He loved everybody.
Yeah, he loved everybody. He was inclusive. Like I said, it didn't matter.
That's what you meant. He was joy-filled,
Yeah, he was just full of it. He just
full of love.
didn't matter what your age was.
Okay.
So
Wow.
he could connect.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you also used the word like he was a little bit more quiet, but he absorbed.
Yeah.
So he just always processed. Was he a deep thinker?
I would think so.
Okay.
He would always just look at things, try to figure out,
Okay.
you know,
Inquisitive.
given like I said, his birth, it took him longer to maybe process things. So he would be quiet to kind of look at and kind of study things
Okay.
and figure out, what it was or what it meant or that kind of perspective.
Okay. Was he a mama's boy or a dad's boy?
Mama's.
Mama's boy? Yeah. Why?
100%.
Why do you say that
Just-
100%?
She doted over him, and
Really?
he doted over her, and
Okay.
we have this. I don't know if anybody, your viewers may watch. I know it's wrestling, obviously, and then there's wrestling has this NXT kind of. It's almost like a proving ground for wrestlers.
Okay.
And we had an NXT belt at home. And
You had an NXT what?
belt.
But
like a
okay,
championship
okay,
belt.
okay, okay.
So
Okay.
he was a mama's boy, but he was rough and tumble. So he would,
Okay.
he would jump on me and like we'd pretend we were wrestling. And he'd pin me and he'd walk around with the belt held up high
Oh
and
my.
walk around.
Oh my.
So he was definitely a mama's boy because when he would lose, he would go to mom.
Okay.
He he would never lose, but he would think he would. So.
Okay. Okay. And the sibling interaction, those three, they're all 4 years apart. Did they do the typical fighting, the two brothers there? So the oldest of yours is a daughter, and then the two boys. Typical roughhousing, or was it more?
Yeah, typical roughhousing. Troy being 4 years.
Okay,
older
Troy's your middle
Yeah,
son.
sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, being 4 years older than Ridge, he had his own thing.
Okay.
He was into gaming and they would they'd have their normal brotherly spats. Get out of my room or stop
Okay.
bothering me, kind of like
Okay.
that thing. And
Okay.
and then he'd have Troy looked after Ridge. A lot.
Okay.
He was protective of him. I remember they were telling a story that somebody was picking on Ridge on the bus.
Okay.
And they were exchanged when we lived in town. They would swap buses at the school,
Okay.
the high school, I think.
Okay.
And somebody would pick on Ridge, or can't remember the exact story. I know that Trey would step in and defend Ridge. And it was either a kid was same age as Ridge or maybe a little older.
Okay.
Trey would step in just to get in between them, he would just
Protect him.
pretty much tell him to stand down or just would stand in between them. So he was super protective of Ridge.
Okay.
As brother would be. Troy could pick on Ridge, but nobody else could.
But nobody else. Okay.
kinda
All
like one
right.
of those things,
Okay. Yeah.
And my daughter she was inclusive. They would make TikTok videos all the time.
Oh. Okay.
And when we went, kind of digressing, I found a couple of tablets we have. Just kind of going through the house. I'm like, oh, what's this tablet? I charge it up and I open it up. I'm like, there's videos of him doing that. I'm like, just doing crazy stuff.
Okay.
Sitting on a balcony and talking to himself, or like,
Oh.
like just narrating the day, like, oh, we're in Florida and it's really, and I guess we were all still asleep
Okay.
in the hotel, and he'd be on the balcony like, oh, it's really cloudy out here, and just rubbing his head like, oh, he'd say his best friends, hey, I'm just out here, and just videos, and I'd watch him like, I love having him now because I get to hear his voice and see him, and I think it's one of the great things about technology is now before the technology came, if you wanted to hear somebody's voice, it had to pass. If you had a recording on a 8-track or a 8-track, nobody does 8-track, cassette or VCR. That's how
I
you
know
see
what you
them.
mean. Yep.
Or home movies on a video. Now you have like all these TikTok videos. So now I've got videos of him, him talking and speaking and being funny and just funny acts. So it's always, I find myself sometimes going through and looking and finding things.
Mike, would you be so kind to walk us through the day of the actual injury, the day that the injury happened to Ridge? And was that March 7th of 2010?
Yes.
What day was that?
That was a Saturday.
Okay.
It was a Saturday that happened. It was like Shan was off working. I know we got invited to her cousin's place to watch a UFC fight.
Okay.
Here in the area. She got off around 9:15, and she came home. Ridge was already dressed.
In the morning, 9:15 in the morning?
No, at night.
Oh, this was in the evening. Oh, okay. Okay.
Troy had gotten a VR set for Christmas, and Ridge wanted to borrow it and take it over to show his cousins.
Okay.
So Troy said, yeah. So Shannon got home, and we got in the car and went over and went on a long drive. And we got over there and got settled in. We got there about 9:30, something like that, maybe 9:25. Got over there, and then Ridge was playing around. We were inside. Everybody was getting ready for the fight. There was quite a few people there. A lot of local kids were there playing basketball with their kid, with Ridge's cousins. There is Shannon's cousin she taught like gymnastics, so the room where this happened was set up for gymnastics. It had like the springboard, it was padded, but there was like a basketball hoop in there. Not a regulation one, just one to kind of play around with.
Okay.
I remember sitting we were in the house. I was talking to somebody, and Ridge came up, and he said, and Ridge loved to play basketball.
Okay.
He's like, hey, can I go play basketball outside? I'm like, yeah. So he gave me the VR classes.
Okay.
And Ridge went outside to go play basketball. And not even probably 15, 20 minutes, Shannon's cousin came in and said, hey, Ridge was throwing up. So the backstory of throwing up, when Ridge was 7, we weren't sure what was going on. He would go a whole week of throwing up. Not sure why. Nobody could figure out why. And then he'd be normal. And then he would throw up for like an entire week, trying to figure out why. So finally we went, after like 3 or 4 office visits to doctors. They're like, oh, well, it's growth, or it's this or that. We went to a pediatrician, or not a pediatrician, sorry, a practicing nurse, I guess it was. So she had ordered some tests. Come to find out, he had a blocked kidney tube that was causing. So when his bladder would fill, it would spill over into the kid's bloodstream stuff. So that's how he'd get sick.
Oh, okay.
So in order to fix that, we had to go down to the Mayo Clinic
Okay.
down in Rochester. So he had to get surgery, and he was getting surgery with the Da Vinci robot. And if people don't know what the Da Vinci robot, it's just a mechanical device that the doctor puts the arms in, and little tiny things. Because like sometimes operations you have to put a big incision. Well, he had like 3 or 4 like just little pinpoints
Okay.
to go in. He was super excited about having a robot kind of operate.
Okay.
So we're down in Rochester, and he had to go through the surgery, and then basically they kind of cut the top part of his kidney of the tube up, and then pulled it back up and resewed it onto where it wasn't blocked.
Okay.
So they repaired his kidney, and that was in 2000. He was like 7, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. So this was a few years prior
Yeah.
to, okay.
So he'd like I said, birth. He had an abnormal way of coming in. Then he had the surgery, and then after that, he became like he was normal before, but like more like a normal. He was doing wrestling. He was wanting to play football. He was getting involved in things. So jump to the party. He wanted to go play basketball. So I'd say, yeah, go outside and go play basketball. 20, 30 minutes afterwards, cousin comes in, hey, Ridge is throwing up. I'm like, oh man, he got another blocked kidney tube. So I just take a leisurely walk outside, not thinking anything of it. I get outside, and he's outside, and one of Shannon's other cousins has him, and she's kind of holding him, and he's kind of just grunting. like not talking, not just like just kind of like struggling to
Communicate
communicate.
type thing? Okay.
kind of thing. So at that point, I knew something was wrong. I wasn't sure, but I knew something was wrong. So then, because he just was grunting, and she was holding him, and then
Ridge's cousin was holding him.
Shannon's cousin.
Oh,
Yeah,
Shannon's cousin.
Yes.
So
Shannon's
an adult
An adult
was holding him. Okay.
and then Shannon's Shannon's other cousin came out. The two were the husband.
Okay. Okay.
Came out of Shannon's cousin, and was like, hey, and he had CPR knowledge or of work, so I kind of laid him down on the ground, and I remember all the details from that night. Laid him down on the driveway. Of course, Shannon comes out. At that point, people are gathering around. Shannon's freaking out. I'm freaking out. He lays down, and this white kind of mucus comes out. And at that point, we were like, okay, something. We called 911. 2 ambulances. The ambulance from Perham showed up, and then naturally, like I said, Shannon was freaking out. I was freaking out. Everybody else just kind of gathered around, and I felt bad because there was younger kids there. So the parents took the younger kids inside, like they didn't need to see this. And then I remember them putting that I don't know what they call it, but it's a mechanical device that keeps the heart putting pressure, because Shannon's cousin was doing CPR.
Okay.
And that's going to come play that his techniques of doing CPR played a huge factor in Ridge's ability, to donate. So they get in the ambulance. They take him over to.
Okay, so I don't mean to stop,
Sure.
but I want to ask: is so he's not even breathing on his own? You said he was grunting,
He's grunting, but I don't know.
but they're doing
He
CPR.
was
So
doing- yes, they were putting it on. So
okay,
I was from a distance.
okay,
I thought maybe because he was grunting, he was breathing, but
Okay.
maybe at some point he wasn't.
okay, okay.
So they had that device on him that was doing it mechanically.
Mechanically, okay.
Get him to the hospital. I know at that point there's doctors and nurses all around. I can't see. I'm not proud of this moment. I get extremely frustrated, vocal, irritated, angry to the simple fact that they had called the authorities to come because they had to calm me down. Well, naturally, my kid is on the table and I don't know what's going on. It doesn't look good when you have that many doctors and nurses around and I can't see and and they won't let me see them. So it was just a priority. It was a safety thing for them to call the authorities to come to kind of not corral me, but just kind of calm me down.
So when you said that it's not something you're proud of,
Yeah.
Michael, all parents we can totally relate with the visual that you're seeing. You're out of your mind in fear, and you can't help. You can't do anything. So it's nothing that you should ever say or feel that you're not proud of. It's just you were reacting the way I think a lot of fathers, parents would act, and it was just for your safety probably too. You're out of your mind. I've never been in your position, but I'm trying to meet you there or listen and be there. So the law enforcement was called.
Yeah, just to kind of keep me, I guess, wrangled. They got him stable enough. They life flighted him up to Fargo, North Dakota, to the hospital up there. So Shannon flew with him in the helicopter. She didn't have her phone. I can tell you that was the longest 45-minute drive of my life because I drove up with my brother-in-law, sister-in-law, and we broke land speed records going up. But I had no way of talking to Shane to find out what's going on. What are you doing? Because she didn't have a phone. So it was, like I said, it was the longest drive ever from there to Fargo, and I couldn't get there soon enough. And we get there. I remember when we got there, the doctors were not very optimistic. So we had talked to the one cousin that was holding, Shannon's cousin was holding Ridge, her and another lady. We had called and said, hey, can you guys go by and get Troy and Clara. Don't tell them what's going on. Just tell them, you know, you have to go.
Your other children.
No, the children are home. So they went and got them, and then they, you know, drove up, and then we're at the hospital, and we're watching, and they're trying to, they're just trying everything. The doctors are, and Clara and Troy show up, and so we got to tell them what's going on. It was hard at that moment to tell them. At some point, I'm not sure when it was, they had decided that, you know, there was nothing they could do, so they moved him up to the top floor of the hospital. And this was mind you, this is still on March 7th, and then getting into March 8th, early morning.
Of Sunday morning.
Of Sunday morning. So I remember at 4 a.m. in the morning, the doctor came in, and she said, she basically said, you know, there's nothing we can do. He had fallen and somehow hit his head just right to where his brain swelled, but there was nowhere for it to go, so it pushed it down on the brainstem.
Okay.
We later found out that white stuff that came out on the driveway was, I think, fluid from the brainstem.
It had happened very, very quickly then.
And 1,000 things go through your head, like, you know, if I had known, maybe I could have held it to where, you know, it would have went the other way, you know. You know, she told us that, like I said, at 4 a.m. I was adamant about getting a second opinion. I'm like, you know, I wasn't accepting it. I wanted somebody else to tell me. And again, not proud of it, and I know that you know, any parent would do the same thing. But I was not. I didn't trust her, the doctor. I'm like, you give me somebody else. I don't believe you. You know, you don't know what you're doing. Get me somebody else to tell me. And she brought somebody else in, but then they brought the X-rays. So when I saw the X-rays and I saw what she explained, I still didn't grasp. I thought maybe they could just pull it back up. Like, can't you just pull it back up and reattach it? Can it, you know? And they're like, that's not the way it works. You know, you just can't reattach a brainstem. So I had to go in and tell his brother and sister and aunt and uncle that, you know, he was gone. And there was nothing we could, you know, there was nothing. And then I had to call my parents and let them know. And I called a friend of mine and let them know. But we're sitting in there, and so they get to go in. Troy and Clara get to go in, and you know, a lot of people have hard jobs, extremely hard jobs. I think, you know, we're sitting there and we're talking, and this lady comes up to Shannon and I, and she's talking, and she is from Life Source down in the cities. They are contacted. The way she told it to us, she was contacted by the hospital, like, hey, there was a 9-year-old boy that has, you know, brain injury that's not going to survive. And prime for, you know, there's a certain way when people pass that they not really, I guess, qualify for organ donation. You have to pass in a certain way to where that you're a viable candidate. And I can't imagine the kind of job that they have to do. They have to approach somebody, a loved one, on possibly their worst day ever. And I remember her coming up to me and Shannon, and she introduced us, and automatically I'm like, no, he came into this world whole, he's going to go out. I'm like, we're not doing this. We're not going to go.
Organ donation.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not going through this.
How long from the time that that doctor came in and told you that there is nothing that we can do to the time that that individual came in to you to introduce herself to you and say, I am part of the organ donation team?
I think it was later that night because she had to fly in. Somehow she got from Minneapolis to Fargo, North Dakota.
So at about 4 a.m.?
When they told us 4 a.m., there was nothing we could do. I don't know the exact time, but I know it was that same night. I think it was the same night, but it was later in the evening. It was dark outside.
So the whole day had gone by and it was dark out.
From what I remember, yeah, it was dark out. I wasn't by any windows, but I know that we were all sitting there, and she approached us, and like I said, I was adamant about it. Shannon was like, oh, let's listen. I'm like, no, he came in this world whole. He's going out whole. We're not doing this. So she just said, like, hey, you guys think about it. And I'm like, there's nothing to think about. I'm like, sorry, but no. So she had left, and we're sitting in the hospital, just kind of, just in awe, just not in awe, just shocked. We're sitting there, and some time had passed. I think it was getting to the wee early mornings of Monday morning.
So we're already 24 hours past
Yeah.
the actual injury of it taking place. Okay.
So she had come back and talked to Shannon, and she said, "Can I talk to Mike?" And I remember telling Shannon, saying, "No, it's probably not a good idea right now." And somehow Troy overheard, and Troy was 14 at the time. And Troy walked up to me. And for a 14-year-old to be this alert or to have this knowledge, he said, "Dad, if somebody was out there that would donate their brain for Ridge, wouldn't you want him?" I'm like, "Well, yeah." He goes, "Then why can't it be the other way around?" Mm-hmm. He's like, "There's a family out there that is in the same boat that we are. Somebody needs something. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you want to give them that?" Mm-hmm. He said, "I think Ridge would want to do that." So I pondered. I'm like, how is my 14-year-old getting this point across? Mm-hmm. So I went to Shannon. I'm like, okay, let's go talk to her. Mm-hmm. Troy made a valid point. It's something that Ridge would have wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So we went and we sat down with the lady and like I said, there's a lot of people have a lot of hard jobs in the world, but I think emotionally, those people have probably the hardest emotional job, because they have to approach somebody who has just lost a loved one to say, "Hey, have you thought about us taking their organs?" Like, I don't know what kind of training they go through to be able to approach somebody like that. I couldn't do it. I couldn't come to somebody and go, because I'd feel like, hey, your kid, your loved one's life, I don't know, not worthless, but like, I don't know what kind of training they do, but I know that it can't be an easy thing. So we sat down with her, and she told us the whole process. And it's a very long and lengthy process, and everything's anonymous. So she said, they would, once they come in, and this would be on March 9th, once they come in and do the test that, there's no brain activity, then they would take over, as far as Life Source would take over from that point on.
Life Source,
the company down in the cities. They would their people would come in at that point and take over as far as, all the tubes and stuff like that. They would take over at that point. Mm-hmm. Because then the hospital's kind of like, not done with it, but like their responsibility is over with. It's now Life Source, because now he's an organ donor. So we agreed, and she started the ball rolling. She sat there all night. She was there the whole time. And then it was, I remember it was Tuesday night. It was the night before that he was going to do his hero walk. Now before that, the outpour from the community was unbelievable. I mean, the entire softball team came up. I have a picture of that sitting there. Just community people people we knew were just coming up to the hospital and, just paying their respects. And so the night before his hero walk, I remember the nurses coming like, hey, do you guys want us to roll a bed in here? So they rolled a bed in there. So we all took turns. I know that one of the ladies here that Shannon worked with bought pizza and had it delivered. Ridge Love Pizza. So we all set up with him. We spent 2 hours. We all lay in the bed next to him. Spent 2 hours just laying next to him, watching TV, eating pizza. Stayed up all night. And then they came to unplug everything and to take him what they call the hero walk. So, obviously people have seen it on TV or TikToks. And they all line it. So we had to do one of the hardest walks that you have to do, because you get to a point at the end of the walk where you have to say goodbye. That's the last time you see him, because he's going to roll into an operating room. And as horrible as it sounds, there's doctors there waiting to take the organ to wherever they got to go. So they flew in from wherever to take whatever their organ. They have somebody waiting for that organ. And I remember us getting back to the room, and when his accident happened, it made major news. Like I said, what I talked about, the news media was there, just talking to us. So after the hero walk, we got back, and they were like, hey, you guys can stay, you don't need to leave now. And we're like, no, we need to get back home. This is too much bad thing has happened here. Not that it's their fault. We just thought, we just needed to go back home. So I remember it was 5 a.m, and we loaded everything in the car, driving home. Kids fell asleep. Shannon fell asleep. I remember I had to stop 3 times on the way home. I walked around I'm like, I gotta stay awake. I'm like, I hadn't slept. And then drove again and stopped in another town. I stopped 3 times before we got to home. Got home, unloaded. I went straight and I laid in his bed, and I slept in his bed. And then Troy and Claire went to the room, and Shannon went to her room, and then we just kind of all just started that process there. But it was March 9th. They came in, declared him legally dead. I was not in there for that. I didn't want to be in there for that, because they said a twitch or something like that can be construed as like he's still there, and I'm like, well, I don't want to see that, because I would definitely go, no, he moved. They said it was an involuntary. It'd be an involuntary kind of thing. So I didn't want to be in there when they did that test, so I left. Shannon was in there, so then when they got done, I came back in. But yeah, so he had passed on. They declared him legally dead on March 9th, and then so we always say, he passed on his hero walk. His organ donation was March 10th, so on his birthday he gave the ultimate gift. He's since saved 4 lives and countless others through that donation, which goes to who he was. He was always willing to help. I mean, it's love like Ridge. Like, you can't have any other bigger love than, hey, I'm going to give you the gift of life, give you a second chance. I don't have it. I don't have that ability, but you can. You can have a chance for a life to live. So then it was just the whole process of trying to grieve, and then on top of that, COVID hit, and that was during COVID, and I remember telling the story, the lady telling the story of the guy's pancreas. So it was an interesting, like I said, everything is anonymous. And Facebook has a lot of support groups, and I remember reaching out on Facebook, and I found this lady who had went through the same thing, and I was trying to figure out how to write the letter to somebody that received the organ. Like, how do you write that letter? Do you come off sound? You don't want to come off sounding, judgmental. Like, are you worth that? Are you worth my kids? But you don't want to be, it was a hard letter to write to figure out how to start out writing it. So I seeked her out, and she said, and she had to do the same thing, but she was coming from the perspective of her person had received an organ. So she was like, hey, and I like I said, I was reaching, I'm like, I don't know how, you being a recipient, how you interpreted that letter that you received. So when you write a letter to the the donor family or whoever received the organ, you don't mention locations or last names or stuff like that to give away, because it's all anonymous, because they don't know how people feel. Somebody who gets the organ, are they going to be amenable? They don't want to be, or vice versa. What's the
Right, I understand.
So you send that all to, like, I sent all 4 letters to the Life Source location in Minneapolis, and then they disperse it out to wherever it's got to go, and it goes to another Life Source location wherever that, like this point, like the lady lived in Austin, so it went to their Life Source office in Austin, and then got sent to her. So then, like I said, in COVID hit, so the way she tells it, and we met her, is she got a phone call on March 9th, and the guy said, her person said, hey, look, we have a match for you, a pancreas. Don't think, just get on the next flight from Austin to Minneapolis. Just don't, it's a match. In her condition, she had a 1% chance to live. So people were like, she was already written off that she wasn't going to be around for Christmas. So she didn't think, she caught the last flight out of Austin and flew to Minneapolis, and then she had the surgery. So obviously COVID hit, so she was stuck. Her husband, they couldn't go up to the hospital. Everything was kind of locked down. But she had got her thing. I know that she got the pancreas at the point, I think it was a 30-year-old kid on dialysis got the surgically repaired kidney, and a lady in her 30s got the other repaired kidney, and a 6-year-old boy in Nebraska got his liver. He couldn't donate his heart because it took too much of a beating, in his lungs. But his heart valves were donated, and from what I understand, is when kids have to have a heart valve replaced, if there's not one available, they put a metal one in there, and they have to come in every so often to get it, because the heart gets bigger, so they have to get it replaced. Well, if you get a heart valve from a living heart, you don't have to do that. So we were able to donate his heart valves. So we donated everything except his eyelids. Yeah, it definitely is. Organ donation is something that I signed up for now, that I am, and Claire is, and Troy and Shannon. We advocate for it, because it's like I said, he did something that 90% of the population is never going to do. He's in a rare group of people that have given somebody else the chance to live.
The journey that you just took us on is absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's definitely something you don't wish on your worst enemy.
And it's your life.
Yeah, it's something that I have to live with the rest of my life, and it's a constant battle. It's a battle that I'm in therapy for, because I just don't feel like that I did my job.
Okay, so that you didn't do your job
I was, I was supposed to protect him.
from the father perspective.
Yeah, from that perspective, you always think, like, if I hadn't said yes to go play basketball, I remember for the longest time hating the guy upstairs. Like, how could you do this?
Hating God.
Yeah, just
Okay.
hating God. Like, why would you do this? What, And I remember a pastor telling me, hey, God doesn't do that stuff. He doesn't create tragedy. He's just there to accept, the person coming up. He doesn't create it. So, like I said, I go to therapy. I talk to a therapist, because it's just and like I said, a never-ending battle. And she always tells me, she's like, you don't know whether if you would have stopped it that day. Like the next day, what would happen? You know, if it was meant to be, if that was part of the plan, then it was going to happen no matter what you did. Just, you know, I said, I grant I said, but maybe I would have given myself a little bit longer. You know, I wouldn't have known hindsight that was going to happen, but maybe I would have been able to give another year with him, another 2 years with him, something like that. But like I said, he's got a plan for, you know, and so he's got a plan for all of us. So at some point, you know, I live my life now. I live it day by day because I don't know what tomorrow brings. And I tell people, like, you know, I don't stress about stuff I can't control because it doesn't do any good.
Did this injury and this accident with Ridge, is that what taught you that?
Yeah, it taught me that because, you know, tomorrow's never guaranteed. So I live my life to the fullest every day, and I try to tell my kids the same thing. Like, you know, and Troy, now every time I talk to Troy, when he hangs up the phone or at home or something like that, he always ends with "I love you." Never used to do that before. Claire the same way. So, you know, I firmly believe that tomorrow is never guaranteed. So just why worry about it and just live day by day. Do everything you can, enjoy it. You know, that's my plan is. That's what I want Shannon and I to do, to start living life, start enjoying the time we have left.
So it's been 6 years.
6 years, yeah.
Okay. Sometimes people will say, time does heal. Is that accurate? Or is it not?
No, it's a hard answer for me because it doesn't heal. That hole's always there. That thing's always there. The thought of, you know, what would he be doing now? You know, what kind of a person would he be? You know, how would our lives be different if that hadn't happened? So, you know, so some people it may, some people, you know, I don't know, you know, a different kind of loss maybe, I don't know, but a loss of you know, a parent's not supposed to bury their kid. So that pain never goes away. It's always, you know, it's always there. It's always going to be there until I meet him on the other side of the stars. It'll always be there until that point.
Everybody's different. I just, you know, I mean, it's. I ask you that question, and all I want is honesty.
Yeah.
That's how you feel, and that's how it is. Nobody should ever push you further than where you're at, or, you know, or pull you back. I mean, it's you, and that's the, you know, that's reality, and that's where we need to be at. That's the only way that we'll ever be able to move forward, is being honest and just saying exactly the way it is for that day. So, thank you for being honest.
Sure.
Something that was very profoundly impactful to me as you navigated through those couple worst days of your life there was your other son, Troy. When he came to you, when LifeSource, is that how you say it? LifeSource came to you and said, would you consider donating Ridge's organs? You said, absolutely not. He came into the world whole and he's leaving whole.
Right.
That was your instant reaction.
Correct.
Then Troy, your son, comes to you and says, what if Ridge needed an organ to live? Wouldn't you want somebody to be donating? And that is what tipped the scale for you.
Yeah.
For a 14-year-old son to come up and say that through that tragedy of his own too, and to flip the script for you to say yes, that was unbelievable. Seriously, I mean, what a gift that was. Not only the act of it, but the gift that came from Troy.
Yeah.
You know, to come up to his dad during a time when he's suffering himself immensely, and then go to his dad that is suffering immensely, and to say that to me is it's really, it's very, that really stood out for me. It was amazing that a 14-year-old child would come up and say that.
Yeah, it's what people say when I tell them the story. They always go, "He's 14." I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "How does he? How did he come to that realization at 14?" I'm like, "I don't know. He just did." Shannon always says Troy Slye has an old soul. So maybe that had played a factor into, but like I said, people like are astounded when a 14-year-old has that mindset or that thought to come up and put it in that perspective. So yeah, he is who he is.
Sometimes I'll ask people, guests that are sitting in that chair, and we have a circumstance or a situation, and I'll say, who are you today opposed to who you were before? And I think through, you explaining this entire journey of Ridges and you as the father, I think you probably clarified that for us, who you are. You said that you look at life a whole lot different. You appreciate every day much more. You say, I love you, and after it all. But what I think I'd like to do, what I'd like to ask you, and you can take your time, but if there is specifically, I'm going to say it this way, specifically a dad right now that it is happening to them right now, or let's say they view this, they see this episode in a couple years and it happens to them, or they're watching it now and it happens to them in a couple years. Specifically, what would you like to tell that dad that lost their young child, not in a similar, but just lost their child, and they passed away? What would you have to offer to a young dad?
Well, I can take from experience. After Ridge's accident, we had connected with his family on Facebook from San Francisco who lost their child.
You had connected with?
We had connected out, yeah.
With another family?
Another family.
Okay.
That had their son had a heart condition. He was a little bit younger than Ridge, so I still follow him on Facebook. Every once in a while we talk. But I hope I helped him through that process. So if somebody's watching today, they're either in that same scenario that we were in 6 years ago, or ever find themselves in that situation, with the struggle of, do I donate his organs if they're viable, or do I not? I take it to the same way that my 14-year-old told me, is like, if the roles were reversed and somebody had an organ that your child needed, wouldn't you fight tooth and nail to get that? And so you have to flip it to where now you're in that situation where you have your loved one has that organ that somebody needs to be able to survive. You have to think about what mindset, if your loved one is unable to speak for themselves, like Ridge was, you have to think, like, what would their life, their legacy be like? And I hate to put it in that kind of mindset of legacy, but because organ donation is definitely, it's a hard decision to make. But you are given somebody else, some family somewhere that is dealing, with a loss, or it's soon to be loss, or the realization that they may not have their loved one next Christmas or however long. You're giving them the chance to spend more time with their family, with their loved one. Obviously, it's unfortunate, something that you don't have the luxury of being able to spend more time with your loved one, but you have to look at that perspective, as you are making someone else's life better. And I can only speak from experience, just the dealings that we had with the organ donors, the recipients that we had. In constant contact with them, their lives are just so much better. They're so thankful, and you'll feel so much. You'll feel so whole, I guess. Not really whole. There's still a hole in your heart. There's still a hole, but you'll feel some kind of sense of self-worth. Like, your loved one's life wasn't in vain.
Wasn't in
Wasn't
vain.
wasn't in vain.
Okay.
That they did something that, like I said throughout the cast here, they've done something that 90% of the population is never going to do. They're never going to save a life.
And what does that do for you when you think about that Ridge gave something that 90% of the population will never ever be able to do?
I'm extremely honored to be in that category.
Okay.
It's not.
Wow.
It's from what I've gleaned and taught to, it's not a huge group because you have to, the way that we explained to us, you have to pass in a certain way for that to be viable. Now, Ridge had a brain injury, so you don't donate a lot of brains, but you donate organs.
Right.
So, it just, when you pass it, 1%, like she explains it, and if people, like I said, Google the eulogy. She explains it so well. She was there to explain, because we had her at the service to explain the whole process of organ donation, so that people in the audience would get the situation, the gravity of organ donation is, what the criteria has to be, or the situation has to be for that to be viable. Like I explained, because of the quick actions of Shannon's cousin there, because he was doing CPR, had played a significant part in Ridge's organs being able to be donated. If he wasn't there doing that, would they have been viable? I don't know. But the fact that he was there, kept the blood moving through the organs, made those organs viable for transplant.
Okay.
So I'm extremely honored to be in that group. We try to stay involved. There's different events that Life Source has. There's Angel of Hope that we go to every Christmas. It has Ridges. There's their granite, not headstones, but like their plaques that have people's names on them. Every Christmas they have a vigil there, and we go and we put an ornament on the tree, and we participate in that. I try to go down to Life Source down in the cities and play in their golf tournament. That helps raise money for it and bring awareness. It's a fun tournament. It gets pricey if you talk to my wife. And then there's just different events that they put out on Facebook. Gatherings, support groups. It's just fascinating to talk to other people who are either organ recipients or donors, to share stories, to figure out, and you meet those at the golf tournament, and people are so appreciative, and it's just, like I said, it's just an honor that I get to spread that message of Love Like Ridge, and make sure his message stays out there, that hey, although it's tragic end of life for someone, that if you're able to give somebody else in the world a chance to live, then take it. So if you're in that situation, like I said, it's a hard decision. It's your decision. Nobody else can make it. But if I can give a little insight, it is by far the most rewarding thing to be able to walk around and puff my chest out and going, hey, my 9-year-old saved 4 lives and countless. It's something that nobody can ever take away, and only the people that were in that same boat can appreciate that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for sharing that. So honored to be the dad that raised a son to 9, just about 10 years old, to be able to save lives. Through this filming, Michael, there was times where you were emotional, and I did everything I could to hold back the tears as you let us go on this journey of Ridge's early years, his birth and his early years, and then the tragic day of March 7th, 2010, and what transpired from that. Thank you very, very much. I learned a lot today. I think your reactions on a lot of those situations that happened, that you were thrown into during that few days there, from the time of the accident to the honor walk to the time that you drove home and fell asleep, crashed into your son's bed after those few days that you were up. I'm sure the full duration of that. So I can't thank you enough for that, for letting us go on that journey. I've learned a lot. And when you were in that moment, you were presented with the loss of your son. In just a matter of a mere hours, you were presented with how your son could save lives. And I can't even imagine what that roller coaster of emotions was for you and any other parent that has had to go through that situation. It's heartbreaking. So I can't thank you enough for you sharing. I'm trying to find the right words with such a delicate situation. So thank you for that. There's one thing, I think this was before the cameras started rolling. First of all, you have a prop. You brought a prop. Did you want to? Did you have a? I'll move this if you want to reach and. Yep, grab that.
Yeah. So this is Ridge. His 1 year playing baseball in the local area here. There is, like I said, I saw videos, and there's a video. You can hear people. He was at third base, and the ball got hit, and he was running, but he wasn't running in the right direction quick enough. He was kind of running toward the dugout, and you hear people yelling, "Ridge, run home, run home, run home!" So he'd make a U-turn from running like dangly to the dugout to the home plate.
Okay.
To tag home, and it's the 1 year, and he had a blast doing it, and I had a blast watching it. He loved it.
Playing baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And wrestling.
Okay.
He wrestled, and Clay Nagel knows him very well. You had him on your podcast. Clay knows him. Clay gave a great speech for Ridge's eulogy about him. It's just a great picture. It's anybody. If you look at it, it's anybody's kid that's playing the sports.
Yep.
It could be anybody.
Yeah. When I look at that, that's exactly what I was thinking. That could be anybody's kid. He's a nice, handsome young man.
Yeah, he'd probably be a straight looker nowadays.
Yeah, you'd be fighting off those women. There is one story before the cameras started rolling. You told me it was something about Halloween in a costume or something. Can you share that real quickly with our viewers?
Yeah. So we were not aware of this until after his resource teacher did a video at his tribute at his service. So. And you can watch the video. She stated to Ridge, it was Halloween at the time at school they were going to have a Halloween costume parade. And he had to have this costume. I can't remember what the costume was, but he had to have it. So we ordered it, and I think we ordered it online. I had to wait to get here. So he had this new costume. Okay. And he went to school, and the day before the costume parade, his best friend said, he didn't have a costume. And Ridge is like, well, I have one. I have my own one from last year. I'll bring it, and you can wear it. He's like, okay. So then the day of, Ridge was all excited, got his new costume on, was ready to go to school, got to school, and the little boy, his best friend, liked Ridge's new costume. So Ridge went in the bathroom, took his new costume off, let the kid wear it, and Ridge put his old costume on. So, like I said, he never told us that.
You didn't even know about it?
Didn't even know about it until after, the service when she mentioned it. I'm like, why would he not tell us that? I'm like, that's just like, it just goes to his love like Ridge kind of the message, it's his, wanting to make people happy, I guess. I mean, because, normally and this is probably first grade, so what 6 or 7 year old kid's going to go, you can wear, give up your new costume that you had to have so that your best friend can wear it.
Well, and I think that speaks that speaks volumes not only for Ridge, but it speaks volumes for his parents. too. It does. It speaks volumes because you have that nurturing and you have that love in your home, and he radiated it, with his friends. So thank you for sharing this. I love it when some of my guests sometimes will bring props. But Michael, I want to thank you for sharing Ridge's story, your wife's story, your other two children's story, and how you navigated through some of the worst days of your life, and then what joy came from that.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate it. Like I said, anytime I can reiterate his story, get his message out there of inclusion, given the environment we're in, the love part of it, just include everybody. Don't judge a book by its cover, and just reach out. If somebody's, if somebody is in pain or needs help or something like that, just reach out. A simple hello. Sometimes I go through the drive-through, I'll pay for somebody's drink behind me. I remember doing it at I think a KFC somewhere, and there was a van behind me, and I just paid for their meal. It wasn't a lot, but I just paid for it. And somehow, I think I wrote #LoveLikeRidge on the receipt, and I said, just give it to the van behind. And somehow, I don't know how, I think it was on Facebook or something. The little, I don't know how little, but it was a young girl in the back, had put on there the message that, on Ridge's page about what it meant, and that, they were driving home and they were all hungry, and they had stopped, and mom was, I think she was fumbling around looking for, trying to get, and to drive up to the window and find that somebody had already paid for their meal.
wow.
So, it just be inclusive. Sometimes a little act. I always say, sometimes one little act of kindness can turn somebody's life around. They may be having a bad day, but you say one simple word or one act of kindness can completely flip it, and their day's now better. So, take the time to look around and notice and see if you can just change somebody's life.
Love like Ridge.
Exactly, love like Ridge.
Love like Ridge. Michael, thank you very much for joining me today on Real Feel Insights.
Thank you.
I have thoroughly enjoyed spending this time with you.
Well, you make it comfortable.
Thank you.